Okay. Hello, I'm Corey Herman. I am the current parent and the new president of the DOT. For those that don't know me well, I think it's important to share a bit about my background and my approach and how I stepped into this role. I'm a straightforward person. You get what you see with me. I'm not always politically correct, and I tend to use humor as a lighten the mood when things get tense. I love dad jokes, and my family would say I'm very punny. Good, there's a few of you out there, I appreciate that. And somewhere over there, my wife is rolling her eyes. I also know what I'm good at and where I need help. I'm not afraid to ask for it. When things get difficult, I don't panic. I focus on gathering as much information as I can as quickly as possible to make informed decisions. That approach has served me well in both my personal and professional life, including during some tough financial situations. I've led teams through these challenges and come out stronger on the other side. And I'm confident we can do the same here at our school. As you know, there's been some recent changes in leadership within the board, and I want to acknowledge that. My style and my approach may be different, but I'm stepping into this position with a deep sense of responsibility, and I have a very strong passion for this school. My family's been a part of this community for over 8 years, and I've come to know and deeply respect the teachers and the staff. There are reasons the school is so special, and ensuring they are well supported is a top priority for me. My wife, Nikki, and I have a saying, we take care of those that take care of us. And when I think about what's most important to me, nothing compares to my children in the future. I don't take this role lightly, and I want to assure you that the school will be here this year, next year, and for many years to come. I'm not looking for another school for my kids, and I know you don't want to either. I also know that many of you have concerns. You want to understand what happened, how it happened, and most importantly, what we're doing to fix it. You want to know that the teachers and the staff are being well taken care of, and that your money is being used wisely. And that's what I plan to address tonight. I'm going to do my best to include as many of the answers to the questions that were submitted. There were a lot. In my explanation of events, and I'll leave room for questions from the audience at the end. We'll leave 3 minutes per person to make sure that we can get as many in as we can, and we'll plan on wrapping things up at 7:30. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. All right, I think you can see the agenda. It's very small, but trust me, it's there. The Board of Trustees exists to ensure the long-term health and stability of the school. Our responsibilities include governance, which is upholding the school's mission and values, strategic direction, which is developing and supporting long-term goals for growth and sustainability, financial oversight, reviewing budgets, ensuring sound financial practices, and managing risk. We exist to support the head of school and hold them accountable. It's important to note that the board is made up entirely of volunteers, each of us juggling full-time jobs alongside our responsibilities here. When we joined the board, the expectation was that we would have a commitment of about 4 to 5 hours a week. That's split between meetings and committee work. I share this not as an excuse, but to provide some context of how these decisions and initiatives might take longer than people like. In fact, since the crisis happened, we've been spending several hours per day and night working on this. The board can be as small as 3 members for as large as 20. Currently, we have 7 members, and 3 of them joined at the start of the school year. Over the past 3 years that I have been on the board, we've seen some significant turnover. We had several key role change hands, including the Finance Committee Chair, the Advancement Committee's Chair, Secretary, and 4 of the last 5, now 6, presidents. We have had as many as 15 members in recent years, and only 1 board member is left from the board that was on it at the start of 2020. Hi, Jen. Board members can be replaced by a majority vote for removal. At the end of the school year, we evaluate our performances and reflect on the changes that we'd like to see for the following year. And if I'm being honest, the last president resigned at the end of last year, and there was very little handover of information. We are actively working to make sure this is not a case moving forward. We have included a copy of the information that we can share with our parents and the community about the plan that we have put in place. You'll see it on the back table back there. Hopefully you guys had a chance to get it. Some of it cannot be shared until necessary changes are made, and some of it is still in process. Tonight is the first step in our process of building trust with parents and staff. This is never intended to be an us versus them situation. I promise we all want the school to be strong and around for our children and our grandchildren. All right, Finance Committee. So the Finance Committee is made up of board members with financial expertise, along with key administrative leaders like the head of school. This committee is responsible for drafting, reviewing, and approving the school's annual budget, monitoring financial reports and monthly statements, ensuring compliance with financial policies and regulations, and identifying risks and creating strategies to address them. While the committee has always worked to ask the right questions, many of the same ones that you submitted to us, we relied on the answers we received. In hindsight, we didn't ask questions, and we didn't ask them deeply enough. There have been improvements over the time that I've been on the board, but I'll be honest, the system was not set up to succeed. The good news is that we've learned a lot in the weeks since the shortfall came to light. Now that we know better, we can do better. We've already begun implementing changes to ensure stronger oversight, greater accountability, and better systems to prevent something like this from happening again. Our treasurer holds a financial position at Notre Dame, and I run 2 local small businesses and familiar with budgeting and strategic planning. We have a new director of finance that is also helping clean up the past and get a clear view of things. To truly understand how we arrived at the financial shortfall, I think it's important to look back at the history of how the budget was set and reviewed in the years leading up to the situation. Our previous head of school, Randy, took over right before COVID. As we know, the pandemic forced the school to shift into survival mode. The board also shifted into crisis mode, holding all the meetings virtually and focusing on navigating the challenges posed by the pandemic. At that time, enrollment numbers were uncertain, and the budget began to rely heavily on projections. From what I've learned, it became normal to build budgets with a plug. That's a gap between what your expected expenses are and the expected revenues are that would ideally be covered by donations. Coming from a for-profit background, I found this I was assured this was a common approach for nonprofit education. It's my first board, so that's what I had. During COVID, the school managed to pay off its mortgage, which is seen as a safety net. The thought was that if needed, the building could be leveraged to secure cash. Enrollment was steadily increasing post-COVID, and there was reluctance to raise tuition, even though we were getting larger than usual raises to the teachers and staff. A well-deserved acknowledgement of their efforts during this incredibly difficult time. However, financial reporting during this period had its challenges. Instead of reviewing reports from the most recent month, we were often looking at data that was several months old. This created a lag in identifying and responding to financial issues. Over time, this became a point of emphasis, and the process improved to the point where we were receiving financials that were at least only 1 or 2 months old. Still, the system wasn't where it needed to be. When Kathy joined as the assistant head of school, she inherited these practices and systems. They seemed normal to her as well. Behind the scenes, there was a push for clearer and timelier reporting, but the progress was incremental. When Randy left and Kathy stepped into the interim head of school, she inherited his administrative staff and the budget that had already been set. The board accepted the budget on a very pessimistic enrollment outlook, and again, tuition rates were not raised significantly in the school year began. When the year started, enrollment was about 20% below target. While there were families still in the process of joining, it became clear early that we had a significant gap. Around the same time, the board had shifted its focus to the head of school search, which became an all-encompassing task for many of us. The financial updates continued to be reviewed monthly, but we were still delayed by more than making it hard to make real-time corrective action. To cover the gap in expenses, the Director of Finance worked with the bank to secure the loan. The loan was presented to us as a term loan, but we later learned it was in fact a mortgage, and for a much lower amount than the school had previously leveraged. Our safety net was unknowingly gone. During the head of school search, a board meeting was skipped because we were hosting on-site interviews for candidates, hosting town halls to discuss the search. Around this time, a request was made to extend the loan to a higher amount. By the December board meeting, we were reviewing October's financials, and it was becoming clear that the gap was widening. We were warned about a looming cash crunch 2 days prior to our meeting. The assumption was that the bank would extend the loan, and that Giving Tuesday would bring in a much-needed infusion of donations. Unfortunately, neither of those things happened. We soon learned there wasn't enough cash on hand to make payroll. This came at the start of the holiday season when the bank was slow to respond, and many of the donors we reached out to were already on vacation. This moment was a wake-up call for all of us. While there was contributing factors outside of our control, it became clear we needed to fundamentally change how we were approaching budgeting, financial oversight, and planning. When the financial shortfall came to light, there was a great deal of uncertainty about the full scope of the issue and what immediate steps needed to be taken. The initial response from the board president was to consult an attorney for guidance on how to proceed. What was sent out was communications was recommended by our attorney. Looking back, something I would personally always regret is that this response seemed to put a cloud of uncertainty over head of school. At that moment, our priority was to ensure we were making informed decisions, but I wish I had trusted my gut and taken a more thoughtful, measured approach. For that, I want to thank Kathy. She has worked tirelessly through all of this. I regret that our initial reaction made her position more difficult. The most urgent issue was ensuring that our teachers and the staff received their pay. This incredibly difficult decision to issue partial payroll was made. Let me stress this was an absolutely last resort, and it was devastating to all of us to have to consider that. Thankfully, Kathy was able to secure a very generous donation from a member of our community. Thanks to that donation, payroll was caught up within a week. We immediately opened discussions with the bank to secure additional funding to cover the operating gap. While the process was slower than we had hoped, the bank asked us to provide a detailed spending plan to demonstrate how we intended to stabilize finances before they did extend any additional money. This information has been submitted, and we are still awaiting a response. At the same time, Kathy and the advancement director began personally reaching out to key donors to share the school's current situation. The conversations were critical in securing immediate support and reestablishing trust to the donor community. Despite the timing being difficult due to this holiday season, their efforts ensured that additional funding was secured quickly. So I want to talk a little bit about the ERTC. So that is the Employee Retention Tax Credit. It's something that came out during COVID. It has been submitted and it has been accepted. We've not given up on it, and we're still trying to receive it, but we don't know when or if those funds are going to come. At this point, we're not including that in our budget, but if we do receive it, it would be a significant cash infusion of more than $200,000. We would decide how best to use it if those funds are received, but again, we're not banking on it. As part of stabilizing operations, we reviewed all spending and postponed non-essential expenses. We made every effort to ensure that these cuts did not impact the quality of the education of the student experience. The board and the finance committee immediately heightened oversight of the school's financial operations. A comprehensive financial audit was conducted by members of the finance committee working alongside the bank. Numerous reports were pulled and thoroughly reviewed to get a more complete understanding of our financial position. This process revealed not only where the gaps were, but also where improvements needed to be made in our reporting and processes. The increased scrutiny also allowed us to act more decisively and begin implementing corrective actions to prevent recurrence of issues. We can't say that there is no evidence of fraud from the initial. One of the most critical steps we've taken is hiring a new financial director. Since starting, she has been working closely with Kathy and the board to gather all the necessary financial information and clean up the past discrepancies. The first focus has been on ensuring that payroll and bills are prioritized and paid on time. By stabilizing the day-to-day financial operations, we have provided a much-needed clarity and structure to our process. I want to be honest here. As a board, we've done a poor job of communicating throughout this process. For that, I apologize. It's clear that communication would have eased uncertainty and kept everyone informed during this time. That said, recent changes to the leadership structure and the team dynamics have allowed us to start digging into these challenges as an entire team. The energy among the board, Kathy, and the staff has been renewed. I've seen firsthand that the dedication everyone has brought to solving these issues. We've been working tirelessly, often when we are supposed to be on vacation or spending time with our families, to stabilize the school and plan for the future. There is still work to be done, but we're making meaningful progress, and I feel confident we will emerge stronger from this experience. These immediate actions allowed us to stabilize the school in the short term and regain control over the financial position. However, this was just the first step in the process. Long term, we plan to work with Kathy and the new director of finance to make clear financial reporting guidelines. We plan to review the cash position, the accounts receivable, and progress against our budget at least monthly. The expectation would be that the numbers would be up to date several days before the board meetings to allow people to review them in greater detail and ask questions. This is already in place now, and we plan to formalize and review this process again. As you've no doubt already seen, or you will soon see, the plan is to increase tuition to be more in line with the area's schools and allow us to continue to be competitive with our teachers and salaries. The tuition increases will not go all the way to cover 100% of the cost. You might be wondering, why not just raise tuition enough to cover all the expenses and benefit? Well, there's a few good reasons. First and foremost, we want the school to remain financially accessible to as many income levels as possible. Second, we want those that can help to be able to do so while gaining some offset to their taxes. After this increase, we do not anticipate the need to make large increases in tuition regularly, but it's fair to expect some modest increases each year. One new additional way we'll be looking to help offset the cost of tuition will be to offer the Indiana Choice Scholarship. It's also known as vouchers. We'll be providing more information about the program and prepare to submit our application as soon as the enrollment period opens on January 31st. Some stats on the Choice Scholarship Program. Around 97% of Indiana students age 5 and older qualify for the program. The amount of the scholarship depends on the public school district in which your family resides. The current estimated award for students living in South Bend School Corporation District is $7,169, and that's for this year. We'll provide links and additional resources to help understand this option for parents. The choice scholarships do change some of the requirements for the school, and will need to be renewed each year. The biggest challenge is related to standardized testing. We know that some of you have concerns related to this offering. We want to remain true to the Montessori values. We will plan to review the requirements and make sure that we remain in alignment as regulations are changed. We may say, or we can also say that local Montessori schools offer the Choice Scholarship Program, and we've spoken with them before we made this decision. The hope is that the scholarship awards will make tuition lower for many families. We also wanted to balance the increase for those that might not be eligible. Our hope is that parents could use some of those savings to help refill the endowment fund. The fund was drained over the past few years, and we're making it a priority to rebuild it so that we can have a buffer for the future, something we obviously need. On the topic of fundraising, I wanted to share some updates for the school year. So far, we've raised $64,402. Our goal for the year was originally $200,000. Windfall has traditionally become our largest fundraiser and brings in between $100,000 and $125,000 each year. Windfall is also one of our most expensive events to hold, so the decision was made to cancel Windfall to save some of those expenses and hold 3 smaller, more intimate events in the spirit of building community. Our goal would be to raise an additional $150,000 from these events and contact with our community sponsors. In the coming months, we plan 3 events to raise money for the school. The first will be the school dance and lock-in, which is upper L and junior high. The second will be a trivia night, which we will advertise on a broader local community. This will help us bring in more friends and family who may want to learn about TMA while having a fun night out. Lastly, we'll have an end-of-year family reunion event where everyone will be invited to do popular family reunion activities on the school's campus. In addition to these larger events, we'll host give-back nights with local businesses where a portion of those proceeds will go back to TMA. This will help us both fundraise and create community awareness for our school. While all these events and activities are ongoing, we also will be launching a large fundraising campaign for obtaining donors with a focus on infrastructure, improvements, scholarships, and endowment opportunities. At this point, we need to raise about $183,000 to cover past bills, ensure that the activities we're planned for students are still able to happen, and ensure payroll is covered. We have gone back to the bank for this amount, but obviously we hope to still be able to offset this cost with additional fundraising and build our buffer back up. Many of you have asked, how can you help? We've received an overwhelming response from people wanting to help. This really shows how special the school is to our community and how much everyone cares. We've included a flyer in the back with some ideas of how people can help and be more active in our community. We are a small but mighty board, and we are looking for people to help. Some of the areas of expertise we could use help in would be finance, fundraising, grant writing, IT and web design, healthcare, HR, building repair and maintenance, and strategic planning. We're also looking to support the establishment of the Montessori Parent Association. This group would operate outside the control of the Board of Trustees, but would attend the monthly meetings and provide valuable feedback from the parents. We've had several parents looking to get the organization going, and thoughtfully they said that they would hold off on official elections until May so that people had time to get things organized. They'd like to get things started as soon as possible, and we'll be doing our best to help get things arranged once we've had a chance to get the admissions information out to the parents. All right, so to wrap it up. In summary, we spoke about how the Board of Trustees is organized and saw some of what happens behind the scenes. I joked that we had coffee with Kathy. I might offer cocktails with Corey. For anybody that wants to learn more about joining the board. If you're interested, come see me at the end. We talked about who's on the finance committee and what they'll do. We learned about what led up to the financial shortfall and immediate actions that have been taken. We talked about the payroll, engaging with the bank, talking with sponsors, reducing expenses, and increased oversight on how we're going to do things going forward. Very importantly, we spoke about how we would like to improve our communications. We talked about how our long-term plans, what tuition will look like for the next year, the options for the Indiana Choice Scholarship, and getting our endowment fund. We had an update on fundraising for the school year. We talked about how big our gap is and what we need for the remainder of the year. We reviewed our plans for the near term and into the next school year. We talked about how people can help and get involved and how we plan to have the voice of the parents to the Board of Trustees. We covered a lot tonight, and I might have missed a few points, but I want to leave you with this. I am confident the school will be here this year, next year, and for many years to come. I want this to be the place that I continue to brag about to my friends and family. The school is a blue ribbon level school, and we could claim that if we didn't have multi-level classrooms or multi-grade classrooms. Our teachers and staff are second to none. We have more than 20 countries represented at our school, and our graduates go on to do amazing things and thrive at the next level. We are educating the next generation of critical thinkers at a time when they're desperately needed. We welcome everyone that wants to learn in a time where people are scared that they won't find a place to fit in. The school is home to so many. You can feel it when you walk through the halls and see the children. You can feel it when you see the teachers and the staff. There truly is no place like home. Thank you. Thank you. I had something here, but I don't see any ovation and high fives, but I'll take that. All right, so questions and answers. I'd like to open the floor up for anyone that might have additional questions. To ensure we have time for as many questions as possible, we're going to put a 3-minute limit on any questions that anybody would like to speak. You're welcome to get back in line and ask more questions after everybody else has had a chance. And the plan will be to end around 7:30. So we have plenty of time.
Corey, do you need set timers or are we just gonna?
I think we can set timers, I guess that's all right, but I think if we have an hour with the questions, it's definitely 5 to record. All right. Here she comes.
We're gonna be uncomfortable.
All right.
I don't think it's on. Yeah, it's like, okay. Step back. Is that better? Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I said, uh-oh, we're about to be uncomfortable. I guess what my question is that if we had a board with very little experience, why we thought it would be a good idea to have a head of school who also had very little experience as far as guiding the ship. Okay, so my question really has to do with when we knew that there were when there was going to be a gap so big with budgeting as far as foreseeing the number of students that we had, why there wasn't another meeting that was called to make sure that we were aware. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if we're having about 40 less students at 10,000 a pop, it's like a $400,000 decrease in what we would be expecting to be coming in, especially when that's our biggest fund, like that's our biggest source of income. So I guess from what I heard tonight, I'm hearing that we noticed before school started that there was going to be a big gap. We didn't acknowledge the gap. Our head of school didn't make changes with that gap. And I'm assuming that it's probably due to lack of knowledge and lack of experience when it comes to that. I'm just wondering, it's like I've got so many questions and I just want to make sure, I love this school. I love the school and I really want to do what I can to help. I just want to make sure that we're making sure that we have the right people in place. We're having the right accountability in place. If we're setting budgets, that those budgets can be revised when we see that there's going to be a crisis type situation. Because from what I heard last week during the town hall was that the budget was set in the spring. And then when we set the budget in the spring, but before school starts, we know that how many people we're going to have enrolled. Like, we need to have a plan to do better. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm just.
Sure. So
there we go.
You're not asking any questions that we didn't ask. Okay. There are also some key players that are not here to answer those questions anymore. That's not a mistake.
Okay.
I cannot get into how those decisions were made. I can talk to the point that Kathy pretty much had handcuffs.
Okay.
She was told on no certain terms that she was interim school and that we were going to look to find a permanent head of school. The goal was to make sure that things continued on. And there was a strong push for the board to have more control. I know that sounds weird, without saying too much to make anybody look bad that's not here to defend themselves. This is the first time in the last 2 weeks that we've been able to help as a board. Micromanaging is a difficult place to be, and when somebody takes it on and they're worried about losing their own personal job, weird things happen. I know that doesn't answer all of your questions, but the director of finance is gone, the board president is gone, and we're looking to strongly replace the members for Kathy so she actually knows what a competent staff looks like. So was put in a very difficult situation, in my opinion, by the way things left at the previous head of school, this team that she was inherited, and the fact that she was told to stay there until you're moved head of school. Within 2 days of being named head of school, this is when it hit. It's not an excuse, but it's reality. I can really only say facts according to the attorney. That's what I have for you. I can say that we asked a lot of questions, and the answers we got were not accurate.
Okay, here's another one, more discomfort. Why was the director of finance allowed to resign and not terminated immediately?
Well, there's a lot of people that resigned, and we'll just say that they were given the option. And it looks better when you say resigned.
I guess I would add, I understand its wording and that you want us to hold him responsible, and we were holding him responsible. But he's not here any longer. Whether resigned, terminated, whatever that is, I know it makes people feel better to know that the board, or that the head of school, because he doesn't report to the board, terminated him. But we were taking action to make sure that things were corrected, and he chose to resign before other action happened.
I'm sorry. I guess my question would be more focused upon with him not having, with him showing incompetence as far as not turning in financials that were up to date on a regular basis. Not necessarily for this part after the news and, you know, the whole big situation, but we know that it was caused by the board having a lag in the actual situation that was going on, right?
Yeah.
So then my thought is, the way that you guys have explained that things are kind of set up, the head of school is the one who's kind of responsible for holding people accountable for doing their jobs. And I want to know why the head of school did not handle that.
So I'll be honest, Matt has lagged, the director of finance did not have updated financials to the board for many years. And the board consistently asked for that. So this is not this just happened. As Matt stated, Kathy came into this with when you have an interim, the board's going to take more control. They're going to oversee other things. And we had been asking, and I mean, a couple of months ago, we probably should have done something differently. But this has been going on for a long time. The head of school is responsible for that person. And I just want to say, I don't feel like Kathy had the autonomy to do that in the interim head of school position.
Say within 2 weeks of her being the head of school, he was gone.
That's right.
But resigned.
It doesn't matter.
If it makes you feel better.
No. It's,
I can say it.
I guess what
No.
my question, my concern is, I want to make sure that going forward, it's not a hesitation in the concept of having to, do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, that is kind of what that's more what my concern is, because if we have budgetary shortfalls and stuff like that, where there are sometimes things that need to be done, I want to make sure that I have the confidence knowing that the head of school is going to get that done. I guess is kind of where I'm leading to.
Yeah.
And I agree 100%. And I think that none of this is excuses, but since 2020 with COVID, the board did not do a good job of putting the next board leadership in capable hands and know like what we're supposed to be doing, right? Like when I joined this board, this is my first board. So I relied on other people, but they relied on other people. And again, not an excuse. But what I'm saying is going forward, we have all learned a lot in the last like 3-4 weeks. I've spent more time on TMA in the last month than I have the entire time probably my son was in school. That's an exaggeration. But what I can say is we are all committed, and we are committed that, we know that Kathy can do this, and she is giving us the information. She is responding. She is doing the things she needs to do, and we will hold her accountable. If she doesn't hold the director of finance accountable, then we're going to do some things, right? We're going to make some changes. But we are very optimistic that Kathy can do this and that we have the right team in place and she will develop that team. And you can hold the board accountable too, because we all know now more than we've known in years.
Ever. Yeah.
Okay, and the reason why I'm asking these questions is just because my level of trust has kind of gone down, so I'm asking the uncomfortable questions because I want to make sure that I have confidence.
As you
moving
should.
forward.
As you
know what I'm
should.
saying? So I think I'm good for now.
Thank you, Avis.
Thanks, Davis. I feel like we should have brought the mic to you, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh, no, I'm happy because this is the first time I've been able to walk in 3 months, so I'll take it. So my first question, and this may be out here, so excuse my ignorance if it is, board meetings, board guidance, regulations, rules, are those publicly available or at least available to the parents at the school, or meetings from here on out going to be
Sure.
going to be accessible to
So,
parents?
this isn't a new thing. When I was in the position, I was a parent, I had no idea what the board of trustees did, if I'm being honest. But the bylaws and the minutes are available on the website. Now, I'll also admit that they haven't been kept up very well. But again, that is a commitment we're making. The current ones we have are now going to be electronically loaded on and be available within hours of the meetings being completed. That's the plan moving forward. There also are, I think it's a 45-page document with the board's bylaws, and that is available too.
Are board meetings being, not just the minutes being written down, but are they being recorded with audio, video, or are they?
Yes, yeah. So I guess we don't publish the videos, but there is.
They're
we do.
open.
And the open portion of it gets published on the website. There's a closed portion that we also retain records for that doesn't get published.
and you are welcome to attend the open, whether we do it via Zoom or in person. With COVID, we learned a lot, right? Like, we can do things via Zoom. We all have busy schedules, so sometimes we have to do it via Zoom to get us all on the call. But those are all public, and you are all welcome to attend. What I can say is if there's something you would like us to address during that meeting, you need to let us know ahead of time, because it is not an open forum like we're doing today. It is a board meeting, but everyone is welcome to attend the open session.
I guess considering the lack of transparency that has occurred, how prudent is it to, at least for now, to have closed sessions where there's information that isn't being presented to parents when there are concerns and very, very valid concerns and questions that are still.
Yeah, no, so to be clear, the closed session is things where you're talking about individuals that can't be public. So if we're making changes to staff and stuff like that, we can't talk about that. But any of the financial information and that type of stuff.
Okay, and that stuff is being posted and available, and will there be notices of board meetings, times, things like that?
Yeah, so the board meetings are actually in the school calendar, and there is a Zoom link in those calendar invites too, that you're available to. I fully understand that normally you would need to look for it. Nobody knew it was there. Those have been available. My predecessor did a good job of getting those on the schedule.
And we can ask for the newsletter. I don't know, because I'm not a parent anymore, so I don't see it. But to have that put in the week before,
Sure.
right?
Yeah,
To make sure that people know it's coming and
I totally couldn't get that plan review to put that in the newsletter so you can plan to attend and also ask questions ahead of time.
I know the last meeting, there was, do we have some sort of guarantee that the teachers are gonna be paid for the remainder of the year, or is that still in flux?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I don't know how, I was not here unfortunately last week. I was supposed to be on vacation. So the way that this works is that fax is what a lot of people put their finances into, and that comes in twice a month. So there's two payments that essentially come in the middle of the month and at the end of the month. Most parents choose to go at the end of the month, so the payroll directly after that usually is easily paid. The one in the middle is the one that we usually have the shortest time frame to hit, if you will. At reviewing our finances right now, for January and February, there's about a $15,000 gap, and following months after that, it's about $3,000. So I know that sounds like a lot, but when you're talking about the payroll, it's not as big as you expect, but that is the hope that we can get the answer back from the bank and also get the fundraising going again.
Okay.
So it's not guaranteed, but there's not a large gap there, and that's why we're being open and honest with you now that we actually have the information in front of us.
Okay. All right, that's all I got for now.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for having this meeting, informative. Sorry, I wasn't here for the whole meeting, but I didn't, so I don't know if this question was already addressed, but what is the governance of the board? Like, how are members appointed? What is the oversight of the board? If there are issues within the board, how does that get resolved? How does it get addressed?
Sure, so I can take this one. It's very fresh in my mind. So after I read through the 45-page document for the third time, it's very clear you can remove board members by a simple majority. Again, I'm not going to get into resigning versus removed, but we'll just say there was a unanimous vote before the letter came out, and that's why we're here. There is also governance goes along with that. The way that board members are chosen is a committee of trustees. The president-elect is the person in charge of that, and typically what there's a statement of interest, then there's an interview, and then there's a vote amongst other board members to have somebody join, and then there's a simplified version of that if you're interested in joining a committee.
And then the role of the head of school within the board, what is the, because I mean, it sounds like, you know, at least the sense that I get was that there was maybe some potential dissension within the board, and that this has been going on maybe for several years, you know, prior to our current head of school. And then the sense that I get was that the interim position basically kind of created a lame duck situation. And I guess I mean, that doesn't seem like that makes a lot of sense when you have somebody who's supposed to be in charge of our school that doesn't have any position or capability to make any decisions. So
You read that correctly. I'm just going to be blunt. It quite honestly never sat well with the rest of us. And one of my other biggest regrets is that we didn't make this vote sooner. Again, I don't want to talk ill of people that aren't here to defend themselves.
Sure.
But Catherine was put into a very difficult situation, and we made it worse. There was micromanagement to the point where all communication had to flow through one person. And it was very clear to Kathy that she had to get everything approved before anything happened. It made life a lot harder. Unfortunately, there's some things I didn't learn until I got access to the board president email. And all the information was flowing through one person, which is unfortunate. So
I mean, that's the whole kind of reason why we have a board of trustees, right?
you are absolutely correct. Yeah, that's, I can tell you that since I've taken over, I'm happy to delegate and be It's a series of what?
So I guess the sense going forward is there some kind of orientation process for new board members where they're going to have this education of what their responsibilities and capabilities are going forward so that situations like this won't occur?
So I think like Jen was saying, it's becoming obvious that we need to have some additional education for board members. You know, when you come on, there wasn't like a huge vetting experience. Basically, it's do you pass the vibe check? Do you seem like you have the right interest in mind for the school? Being blunt here, right? There were a lot of people that had a lot of work experience that got burnt out and they exited. Sure. I can't blame them. We're all volunteers, right? It's hard to hold people accountable or get paid to do it. Again, that's not an excuse, but I can tell you the people that we have are extremely dedicated to this. I am amazed that they've been able to do it in a short period of time. I only wish they had a chance to do this faster and sooner.
And we're going to make sure future board members do have some type of orientation and aren't just kind of thrown into it. Because the people who come on this board want to do what's best for the school for one reason or another. And when you don't have the guidance, you just wing it, right? Like, I mean, you just do what you can and you're trying. So we're going to do a better job of that.
Yeah, I mean, so what I hope my legacy is obviously the school's still here in 3 years. There's strong financial oversight, and you have to have a team of people that you can trust. I'm not expecting her to be a financial expert. She is an amazing administrator when it comes to that. She's been a teacher for 25 years. She knows the school in and out. She knows the staff in and out. But are we expecting her to be a financial expert? No. Do we expect her to learn? Yes. But she also needs people that she can trust as much as the board needs people they can trust.
Thank you.
Thanks, George.
You get our elections.
Damn, back up here. You're getting your
Thank
steps in.
you. So you mentioned the scholarships.
Mm-hmm.
That how does that and potential of different standardized testing? How does that affect the school, the students moving forward, or is that something that's set in stone? That's for sure, or how?
So for this year, our plan is to enroll in this program. You have to renew it each year. So each year we're going to have to decide if we're going to continue to do this. The main thought behind this is that we have talked to other Montessori schools in the area. River Montessori does it, so does Richard River. They've been able to navigate this. You know, the biggest difference, like you said, was the testing. So you now go through what, when I was in school, was called ISTEP.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I learned, I think is what it's called now. So what happens though is the reason that we're also not a blue ribbon school, we're not certified to be that, is that we have multi-level grades. So you've got our first, second, and third, and third, fourth, and fifth, together our seventh and eighth. They teach at different speeds, right? So there's people that are gaining mastery at different levels. But I promise you, when you get out of these, you're at a higher level than any of our temporary schools in the area. What will unfortunately happen is if you're testing a second grader that is off of the cycle of whatever they're teaching, because our staff is not going to teach to pass the test. They're going to teach to mastery. That second grader might not be at the level the state said they have to be, and the parents are going to have some faith that they're going to get there by the time that they're in fourth grade. That's probably the biggest leap of faith I see, the biggest concern that I personally have with this. The previous head of school had that concern too, and that's why he chose not to go that way. But we also were in the pickle we're in because we did increase tuition. Now, the long and the short of it is that these are very sizable potential scholarships. I would imagine for many parents, the tuition will actually cost less next year, but our revenue to the school will go up. So that seems like a win-win situation. But of course, we don't know until we actually try.
I guess just digging a little deeper in that scenario that you described, where somebody hasn't met that mastery, what does that worst case scenario look like on the bad end if in that example that you gave?
I can't answer that. I don't know that answer for you yet. If I'm being honest, we've been able to do research on this for about 3 weeks. This was something that we planned on talking about before all this hit, and then we've been doing lots of other things in between.
And then there was some discussion last meeting about the accreditation being, the accreditation team being delayed in coming out because of expenses or something like that.
Sure.
And
So yeah, that one is kind of weird, right? Like here, why are we getting reaccredited? Okay, so when COVID hit, there was an immediate pause on reaccreditations because nobody could go in person. It's new accreditation, you need to be in person. So there was already a time where like, hey, we're not coming out. We were due for reaccreditation, and then we said, okay, we're going to push that back a year. All of the rest of the other schools had an additional year that they were given to say, hey, if you want to take an extra year to get things together, you can have that. We had scheduled it at that point and said, okay, we're going to do that. Then it became clear that it isn't $10,000 we want to spend this year. And we said, okay, we're going to take our bonus year, if you will, that we were due to take. But we are still fully accredited, to be clear. There's not a chance that we're going to lose the accreditation. What's that?
until when?
Until they do the reaccreditation. They don't pull the accreditation until they know there's.
And there was, I think, mentioned that there needed to be a financial audit to get accreditation. How confident are you that you're going to be able to pass a financial audit to get accreditation?
Sure. So I apologize. I don't think we covered that last week, and I didn't cover it this week. So the reason that the financial audit was not completed was because we were due for that audit. And then when we reached out to our accounting firm, they said they could not accommodate our time. So that got pushed out essentially longer than it should have been. How certain am I that we're going to pass it? Reasonably certain. I mean, I don't know, I can't say with 100% certainty that there's not going to be any issues, but at this point, I don't think we're that far off that it's going to be like a, oh, holy cow, this is going to be a huge problem. But obviously going through what we did, there's going to be some questions that they're going to have for us.
Can I?
Sure.
I want to go back to your testing question. So while the choice vouchers will require us to do standardized testing, that does not mean that we cannot do the testing that we normally do. So we do a test every year that we all get results on from our kiddos. And so it doesn't mean that we can't do that, and so that you can have different reference points. I'm just gonna say, as a parent of a freshman, if I heard one more time, trust the process, I was gonna throat punch someone. But my kid, who never got his work done on time, never, well, very rarely, got all A's and a B this year, and he is doing amazingly well, and I was scared to death. So doing a standardized test, in my opinion, I wouldn't put any value in it. They have to do it. But then we can also do our own, the test that we normally do to show really where they're at. And that, as a parent, that would be my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mariah. Thanks for being here. So I have a couple questions for clarity purposes. And one is more of a plea for clarity from the parents. If we knew, and going forward, if we know that there's such a lag in enrollment, I would have expected a huge push from advancement. I would have expected the parents to know that there was a shortfall and we need to step it up, and there's more than just the typical, So clarity to the parents is really crucial going forward, I think, to reestablish trust. Also wanted to clarify, you mentioned the $62,000. Is that for the year? We've raised $62,000? Or is that since the shortfall?
No, for the year. That's
For the year. That includes
For the,
that's from the beginning of the.
For the beginning of the school year.
Yep.
And that includes the 50 grand generous donation that we just got. Okay,
Yeah.
so we've raised $12,000 from our efforts besides that.
I can speak on this since this falls under my. So a couple of things, just like the board, I wasn't privy to the information either. Number one. Number two, when I came in March of last year, was right before windfall. And the windfall before fell short about 50,000, so we were going in the red. The windfall, when I came in, made over 100,000. So the plan was that windfall was going to be the catch. So that's what you're seeing. The other thing that I've made the board aware of is that I wasn't getting all information. So if somebody brought a $5,000 check, I wasn't made aware myself until someone said in passing, "Did you get the check?" "What check?" So that's what I could pull that had valid numbers attached to it that I touched, that I put in the system. There could have been stacks and stacks and stacks of money that I had no idea about, and I asked, did things come in? Is this coming in? Communication was not there. So.
And that comes from the head of financial, is that what, okay.
So I will echo what she said, is that the more we dig, the more we find, right? And it's unfortunate that it was allowed to go as long as it did. Again, now that we know better, we can do better. And I am confident with who we have in here now, that they've already got a stack of papers off the desk. I know you all know. You can, yeah, there's glass, who knew? Yeah, there's glass in there. And checks are getting cashed, and AR is being processed, and people are getting phone calls.
We heard last meeting that this is an interim director of finance.
Yes, so the director of finance is here. I believe it's Creative Financial Solutions.
Yes,
it's a temporary agency that does this. So there is the option to hire this person if it's decided that's what we want. We want to go through a complete background check and make sure that everything is in order and that the degrees are what they should be and all of that stuff. She is doing a fantastic job. Don't misunderstand that. We're getting the information we need. But again, my personal goal, and I think the goal, is to make sure that the head of school has the staff they need and they have that support function. I do not think she's seen what that looks like.
Okay.
I've had the luxury of seeing what a functioning, high-performing team looks like, and that's what we need.
Okay. And we also heard last meeting that an email went out about the Directorate of Advancement resigning. So are we in the process of hiring someone?
Yes,
So-
yeah, go ahead.
So literally today, I think I sent what we are looking to do, because the Director of Advancement was hired in with a specific job description that did not include enrollment. We have a Director of Enrollment that's remote who does what is in her job description, because I just looked at it. What we don't have is that person out there seeking enrollment, and it's no fault of either of theirs, because their job descriptions did not say that they did that, and no one directed them to do that. However, the new position is going to be Director of Advancement and Enrollment. The position description has been done, and we will be posting this very soon. Like as soon as everyone signs off on it, I got to them today. We will be posting that and making sure that we get someone in. It's going to take a little time, right? We want the right person, but we are going to get someone in here as soon as we can.
Thank you.
Courtney, can I just ask you for clarification to make sure that what I heard was, there were checks found that were not cashed? Is that what you said? Because I think what Kelly said is that there may have been stacks of checks found that were cashed. Is that what happened? And have we contacted the people, if that's the case, who wrote those checks? I guess just clarifying that there were checks found that were, because.
I cannot say that with absolute certainty, but that was the impression that I'm under, is that there were some.
I know
that
people
still
who
needed
didn't
to
have
reach
checks
out to.
cashed for months and
That
months.
I know happened. Like, it took a long time.
You,
But I
you
mean,
were there.
yeah. But I just, that is a big thing, because I don't, if there's a lot of money sitting around in checks that were cashed, I
It
feel like that's.
personally drives me crazy. That's the best I can say is that
We
we,
can't say, which I don't.
yes, so, again, I can't talk bad about somebody that's not here to defend themselves. I don't know that with absolute certainty, but that is the general vibe that I'm getting is what was happening. And I can also defend Kelly in that she probably was not getting the information she was requesting. I will also say that Kelly has put in her notice, but she's also wanted to stick this out to help us out. So she's accepted another position, but she's still here to help us.
First of all, thank you for at least answering some of our questions tonight. It's been almost 2 months with 0 questions, so this feels good to get some, although a lot of the answers not thrilled to hear, but I'd like to dig in a little further on the current financial situation and the gap we have through the end of the year. So Corey, you made the comment that we have eliminated all non-essential expenses. But then in an effort to not affect our students or staff here, on the same token, we have someone on staff who has resigned, and we continue to pay them. We have the other day, cars lined all the way down the road because we don't have substitute teachers here. We have teachers telling us they have no supplies for their classroom. Who's making these decisions, and what's going to be done going forward?
Yeah, that's a very fair question. So I think we sort of addressed the plan is with the director position. We're going to look to backfill as soon as we can.
Why are we still paying someone that gave notice?
She's still doing work. She's still she's still doing work. Your point's not lost on me. I understand what you're saying.
But she's sticking this through with us.
Yeah,
Like, she could just easily walk out that door. She's trying to help us do what we need for the school.
Yeah.
And we're not hiring substitute teachers.
So that actually happened yesterday. So I think I'm okay to say this.
Yeah, that's not,
So we have had substitute teachers, but what has happened is now some of the staff that we had are now going to become permanent substitute teachers so that we can actually save money and keep some of the teachers that we know on staff. Hopefully that makes sense. So essentially we did an analysis to see how many substitute teachers we were using. We were constantly having to have one almost every day. So it made more sense to actually hire a full-time substitute teacher that could float between the classrooms than it did to keep paying somebody to come in and then scrambling to get that person. So that, I believe, actually happened yesterday.
Okay, and you said we've got a $15,000 gap today, $3,000 going forward, $183 through the end of the year. What is the short-term, the very short-term plan to make payroll, to get these paid? Are we just hoping that everyone feels comfortable and gives us the donations to get through this? Are we talking to other banks instead of the one bank who's not giving us the answers?
Yeah, so that's a great question too, and it's the same one I had when I stepped in here. Yes, ideally, everybody opens up their checkbooks and sends a donation. I completely understand why people would do that. I myself have personally done that. I cannot swing enough to cover payroll. I'll be honest. If I could, I would. It's extremely important to me that the teachers are taken care of. They're the heart of the school. Believe me, we're pushing the bank.
Banks or just a bank?
I'm waiting on the bank that we have because it's difficult to open up a second mortgage now that we know that it's a mortgage.
And who made that decision?
So the director of finance told us it was a term loan, and we later found out that it was a mortgage. And it was a mortgage for a fraction of what we probably could have gotten. That was kind of what I was talking about when that was the safety net that we expected we had. And then when we dug deeper, it was already essentially a much smaller safety net that was already burned up.
So the director of finance made that decision without any input from anyone else?
I'm sure they talked to the person that was above them at the time, which is not in this room.
Yeah, unfortunately, both of the people that probably made that decision are not here.
And that this kind of, we've gotten to a situation, hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hole. Are those people being held accountable? I mean, that's gross negligence.
So I can't say what is happening legally behind the scenes. But yes, that fact's not lost on any of us. Right now, the focus is on how do we get things shipwrecked.
Who's paying the legal bills?
So luckily, we have a long-term attorney with Barnes and Thornburg that has agreed to do her stuff for us pro bono.
I will
So you
say,
want to send her flowers this
I will say there's 18 minutes left. We have
Oh,
eight
sorry,
people
18
online, so we need to keep it to 3 minutes, please.
In the honor of saving the school money, I just wanted to see if the board knows how much it would have cost to go national with finding a head of school, and how much did you guys save us by keeping it local?
So it would have been in the range of $50,000 to $100,000, depending on where the person was coming from. We would have paid a search firm. We would have paid, I'm sorry?
$50,000 to $100,000.
$50,000 to $100,000. If the person was local, it'd be closer to 50. If it was 100 and they were further away, we would have paid for hotel. We would have paid for all the things, right? So as a board, we decided we are going to trust LinkedIn, Indeed, and our website, and the people internally that were interested. We had great interviews. We had great candidates. I mean, like, there was no one, like, we all were like, all four were great candidates. Kathy Rosenthal. And that's who we picked. The search was done fairly and in the right way. As an HR professional, I would have seen it no other way, or wouldn't have been a part of it. So Kathy earned every single spot where she is right now.
Thank you.
My question is just another clarification on the testing for the teachers. Currently, the current testing that we have starts in Upper L. So when would the testing start? Does it start in Lower L? How are teachers being held accountable for that? And do they suddenly have to worry about that performance when in a Lower L teacher, there's no way they can keep up with that? So when does the testing start, and what's the support for those teachers?
Don't have that.
I feel like ISEP starts at 4th grade.
Yeah.
Is it 3rd? Okay, it's 3rd grade. 2nd grade, okay.
First grade.
Yeah.
Once.
Yeah, it was starting in third, but the
Or it's I learned now, sorry.
Yeah, and then this school year, they said now second years as well, so it starts in second. So it's 2 years before we committed to 4th grade and up.
So to answer your questions, right now we do Terra Nova.
Right.
This will be a change.
Yeah.
The teachers are going to have to get training on what that looks like. I don't think it's going to look too terribly different than what it is right now, but it's going to be different.
Sure. And again, as a parent who sort of trusts the process and is getting to the part where I can say, oh yeah, the process does work. Can there be some sort of parent education on the process? Because I think when you're testing kids that young, it is so important for parents to understand that. No, they're not doing multiplication now, but they're going to be doing algebra.
Yeah.
And this is the school setting they're in. They're not in a traditional setting, so it's not going to be the same for every kid, and that's what we want, right?
So this is a conversation we have had. The plan is to continue doing these town halls. You know, hopefully they're always about what we screwed up and what we're trying to fix, right? The plan for the next one is going to be, hey, what does the choice scholarship look like? What does tuition look like? Are there other avenues that you can do as a parent, potentially save money or save tax money, right? The next one needs to be, what are the implications of the choice? What does that look like? And the idea is to continue doing this on a regular basis so that the teachers and the staff are involved and that the parents can hear directly what's happening. But there will be some education that needs to happen for everybody.
Thank you.
Hi. So today I was kind of shocked to learn that one of the teachers was leaving, and I can only assume maybe this is related to the budget shortfall, but I guess the question is, should we feel confident going forward, at least for the rest of the academic year, that we hopefully won't expect any more layoffs?
Yeah, so the plan that we submitted to the bank included this, and these were the steps that were in there. I think I can confidently say at this point, looking at Kathy, there are no additional changes that are planned at this point.
When I got into this line, it was to talk about the school choice initially, so you really addressed it. I do want to say that very kindly, with a lot of compassion for what you've all been going through, the trust has been broken for me. So when you come and say, we're applying for school choice, this just anxiety builds, like we haven't spoken about it. I don't really trust that that's a good choice. I need to know what you're doing. I want to know what you're doing before big decisions like that are made. I don't know if that's fair to ask. That's what I would like. The second thing is we spoke in the coffee with Kathy, and the bylaws were going to be posted. Has that been done, the bylaws of the board? You said they were on the website.
I believe they're on the website.
I believe if you go to about and the board, they should be there. If they're not there, we'll put them there.
Okay, so that was a couple of weeks ago. We were told that.
Apologize.
Okay. I just
Let's make sure we ask him to do that.
Yeah, so there's communication gaps that are happening now been rectified. That's the way I can say that politically correct, which is not my forte.
I do really appreciate what you just said about more town halls and letting parents know what's going on. So I appreciate that, and I wish you guys a lot of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
Thank you for being here and for answering. I think this is the most information we've received so far, so thank you. My biggest thing right now is, what is the plan moving forward to retain our teachers? I think if I'm a teacher sitting in this crowd tonight and I hear, we've got, it's not certain, we think, and I understand that it seems like a small gap. These are people's jobs. And I know from my own perspective, I want to come back next year and have my teachers. What is the plan to make sure people don't leave? Because if I were a teacher, it's hard for me to think of, other than a love for the school, but realistically, what are we doing to retain people?
I mean, from a board perspective, the best thing you can say is make sure that they have enough money to get paid and get raises. That's the biggest bulk of what we can do. From a interpersonal communication step, that's Kathy. That's Kathy working with them on a regular basis. There is a clear distinction between what the board can and can't do. And it is inappropriate for us to talk to the staff and give them too much information.
Can I direct the question? Kathy, are you willing to, is there a plan to retain?
Yeah, I do have a plan. Absolutely, I do. I just wanted everybody here to be able to answer.
I just didn't know if maybe you could answer that question now.
Yes,
Okay.
what my plan is to, part of the fundraising would go towards, bonus towards the teachers, not only for the end of the school year, just as a, yeah, thank you, but also towards the next school year and beyond, so that it is a top priority. So that a portion of the fundraising would go into that pot. It's safeguarded and restricted towards that.
Do we have a sense, or have we talked to individual teachers to figure out, are you staying, or do you want to stay?
Beginning that process, yes, and especially last week someone asked me that and I was like, my God, no, I really haven't. And so I've been reaching out and setting appointments to do just that and to say, what can I do and what do you need from me moving forward? Yes.
Yeah, so to be fair, our goal as a board is to get it to the point where she can have the latitude to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, she's been doing all of it.
No, I was just thinking about the teachers in the audience.
So we have 9 minutes, so we need to ask her to step back.
Okay. All right.
My question is about fundraising, and I think you said that the amount needed is like 180,000 plus.
183,000.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that that's gonna be covered with a trivia night, a lock and a dance and a family reunion. So what is the plan for reaching out to our donors, to our former students, former grandparents, former parents, anybody that's ever wrote a check for more than $100 to TMA should be having a one-on-one conversation between now and the end of the school year. What's the plan for that?
Your question is valid. I don't have an answer for that, but I can tell you that there are about 5 people in this audience that have already come to me and asked me what they can do to help. And I'm gonna turn them loose. But we need to do it in a smart way, right? Like, I know that there are people that used to be in charge of advancement, that used to be on the board, that have all reached out to say, hey, what can we do?
So those
When
people
you are
need to get
ready,
together.
come get me, and I'm ready to come get them after tonight. Yes.
Can we have the Director of Advancement answer that question?
I can.
Yeah.
So the thought behind, the thought behind the 3 events, the people that worked with me when I came in here, one of the weirdest things to me, no disrespect when I say this, is the reliance on parents as donors. We have seen, as I dug, even before this happened, I dug into the systems that we have in place, and what you see is little Johnny goes here till 2018, up until 2018, $100,000 came from his family, and when he leaves, that money leaves with him. I personally didn't believe it was a solid financial and a sustainable business model to keep relying so heavily on these 4 walls. So that's why my efforts in the last few weeks have been literally out in public, asking people to come alongside of TMA as businesses, not parents inside. Not that I'm saying you can't give, but I just feel like it just has not been a sustainable business model. And I think that's kind of how we find ourselves here in some ways, because we depended on that person and whatever. So that's that. I understand that the thought is, how are these 3 events going to bring in all of this money outside fundraising? So, you know, trivia night would be brought to you by ABC Warehouse or whatever the case. And I have sponsorship packages that I have made and sent off and those kinds of things. The other thing that I think is important to note is that the reason why the PTA, MPA was kind of brought back is because we're missing those micro fundraisers that the parents led. And so that's why that was being brought back, because you know, when you look at it, that all of that helps. Hope that I answer the question.
How's that outside fundraising going?
Right now, people are saying, I saw you on the news and I'm not comfortable with giving money to you. Can't even.
Yep.
So that seems like a
If we can hold comments for the people that are standing in line, please.
So I respect that, Kelly, what you just said, and I understand the media component of it. Also, as a fundraiser, a fellow fundraiser, your most captive audience is your parents.
Well, yes, and
we are spending a lot of money to send our kids
Yeah.
here because we believe in it, and this is a very niche experience, right? That is not for everyone, and we have all chosen to send our kids here. I can only double down on what was just said before, that the best way is to work, and you guys, I know, but work the phones, call every single person. We were monthly donors for a long time and stopped, and I never got a phone call. I mean, that's not because I'm like, oh, please thank you, but it's like.
Please leave your phone number back.
Well,
I mean, sort of what I'm saying is, this needs to be, it's not just, guys, please, we need help, give us money. It's like, what's the plan to work the phones? Who
wants to help work the phones?
The other thing,
Because if you want to, please, because we can't do it all, right? No, I know you're not, Angie. I'm just saying, like,
there are so many good ideas that we have talked about for years that we have not been able to
Our
implement.
primary goal is to get somebody this.
So that was actually going to be my
40
question.
hours a
like,
week that's able to support that is, and then they also have the function of being able to be out and talking to the families because they're doing admissions.
Yeah.
And they are also working with community.
Yeah.
That is the long-term goal, but we need to do something quickly. That's not possible.
Yes, I know, and I appreciate, I think there's value in being out in the community and raising the profile. But at the end of the day, the people who care most about the school are the people who are choosing to send their kids to it. And that's where you should focus, I think, your energy on bringing in the dollars. And I don't think it's a bad business model, because you have people who are invested, and you have grandparents, I mean, like,
Yeah,
I went through this.
I'm not saying that it didn't work, but when
Yeah.
I look at the raw data, there was a massive fall off, you know.
And that will happen
Yes.
when you have large level
Yes,
donors,
no,
but
yes.
you keep that pipeline
Yes,
going. You keep.
yes.
Okay, sorry. Can I ask one more question about the hiring process for this person? What's the panel? Is that a board panel? Is that I mean, obviously it's Kathy's decision to hire, but.
So our goal is that Kathy is the one that needs to make the decision, but we
Yeah.
find the candidates that are qualified for it.
Okay.
And we will have a panel of board members, staff members, different people that will interview this person. But it is not the board's responsibility to hire this person, it's Kathy's.
But I also want to say that I welcome that.
Thank you.
I definitely.
You guys have been amazing tonight, really, truly. Thank you so much. You've been very direct. I really appreciate it.
All right, before the intimidating one gets to me. I just like to know what the whole windfall, it's very good for the 8th graders, they've all been, especially the ones from the lower building, it's a big giant thing for them. Why can't we have windfall here in the gym? We have the announce thing, we have tables to do it, we have the stage. Why can't we done it before? Why is it, what?
So I'm not going to be able to answer that for you.
Windfall takes so much manpower and time and focus and energy, and I have no job. So you say, oh, let's just have it in the gym. That's easy. It's not. We have to rent tables. We have to get caterers. That's actually more expensive than having it in a place. Frankly, I wanted a windfall. But the optics, according to other people who made the decision, people did not like the optics of having a gala when the school is going through it. So, I get, like, why can't we just do a windfall? And the goal of the.
And not have it like so big, have it downloading, like the caterers can be like.
But I think we can do these 3 events and still do some of the things that we do. The kids can still make the wonderful things that they make. We can still do auctions.
Windfall replacement, and we have parents offering to cater it for free. We have parents offering to provide all of the alcohol. So this is just our way to bring in the costs and still have something that isn't something where people are wearing evening gowns and giving $10,000.
I understand that. I just feel bad for the 8th graders who has been going through this.
I do
The
too.
trip is bad.
I have an
Now
8th
hearing
grader,
this
and I hear
one,
you.
And yeah, I was like, you have one.
I have an 8th grader.
Yep, we hear you.
I have an 8th grader, and I think,
Okay,
welcome back.
thank you. You guys, thank you, seriously, thank you. But I do have these questions I'm gonna ask. I guess my question is, I'm concerned about, since this year we had big drop off of enrollment, right? I think it's harder to recruit new students than it is to retain the ones that we have. What are we doing to try and retain the students that we have, so we have as little fall off as possible?
So that's absolutely what the next column is going to be, is to talk about how does the tuition work? What are the
Okay, another question. Sorry. Is there any way the head of school could possibly put together meetings for the different classrooms, to have them with the individual teachers to try to, and maybe have some alumni attend those with that have maybe graduated, so that they kind of understand the success that students have had previously that have left. Yeah, okay.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hi.
Thank you again for being here. No question, actually, just a comment. I think we all agree that the communication through this whole process has been terrible, right? We all agree that.
I would agree with you.
However, going forward, even last week, right, we were promised to get the tuition rates by the end of last week. And then the plan, a written plan before this meeting, and it's on the table, we don't even have time to review it, right? So urge you to, if you want to build that trust again, to make sure that we get things in a timely manner, or if we're not going to just let us know. Send us an email, be like, hey, it's taking longer than we expected, here's the new date, right? But, yeah, that's it.
I appreciate that, and I think that, agreed, like, I hate giving timelines to people, because when you can't meet them, then you have, the trust goes down, right? And so I like to under-promise, over-deliver, and we're not doing that. I will guarantee you that my phone goes off every hour of every day. I woke up to a 3 a.m. text, which I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't respond to that, I was sleeping. So, and this is not an excuse. Maybe it wasn't, I don't know. But we are doing the best that we can, guys. I mean, like, and I know this is important. We all know this is important, because guess what? If we didn't, you would have a table here with no one here, because none of us have to be here. So please trust that we are doing everything we can with the changes that have currently been made, and we're going to do the best by you and our students.
And I'm recruiting.
And come join the board.
Me again.
You're
So-
negative 3 minutes.
Yeah, this will be the last question.
What's the PR plan? I mean, the trust has also been broken with the public, so I think any kind of outside enrollment, like, can't really go to ECDC and say, join TMA, we're working on a deficit. So what's the plan?
So I will say that there's not a plan to go to the media. I know that there's a strong opinion that that was a valuable thing for us. I can promise you it made our lives much more difficult when trying to communicate.
So do we have a plan to patch it? How do we turn this story on its head?
So the thing is that the news will cover anything that sounds bad. If you go back to them and explain to how everything's great, they don't cover it. We try. They only want to hear what's sensational and what gets people to click on their website. And then when you give them information, they don't report it correctly. And I'm being way too blunt on this one, but they wanted to come tonight, and we told them this is for our community, because I wouldn't have been able to say many of the things that I said tonight if they were here, because I can't trust that they're going to report it correctly, and it isn't cause a bigger problem. Believe me, I had everybody that works with me asking me, what the hell's going on for school, and what the hell are you on the board? How did you know this? I'm like, thanks guys, yeah, no, you work with me, you work for me. Does it sound like something I would do intentionally? No.
So is it possible to get a parent-led, like, make a splash, like, have a telethon?
I
for
think
100
that would be a
parents
fantastic
to
thing,
call on that?
but it's,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be difficult from the board perspective at this point. I'm not saying it's not possible, but if there are people out there that are willing to help, absolutely, I'm interested to hear more. But from our perspective, again, coming from the attorney, let it die. Don't add fuel to the fire. I know how that
The
sounds.
PR specifically, you're talking about with the
Talk about some media.
Got it,
Yeah.
okay.
Because typically, the feel-good stories get buried. So that's been on my list forever. Like, I want a hype team, right? Because the blue ribbon school thing, man. Like, how many other schools can say that? I wish we could say that, but we're not going to change who we are. But we have them. The staff here is incredible. In 8 years, I've seen so many. The fact that you're all here means you care. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have sent me 85 questions. Some of you asked how did we resign and why the hell are you still here? I asked that same question myself. I promise you.
Every day.
What the hell am I doing here? But it's because I care. You know, at the end of the day, I want this place to be here for my kids' kids. I want this to be here for the board members' kids. And I want the staff to be taken care of. I want Kathy to be here for the next 15 years. I don't want the board to have to hire another head of school. It was a pain in the butt. It was. And it really distracted us from doing our jobs, I'm being blunt. 7 people did not do a great job of paying attention to what we should have been paying attention to, and we trusted things that we shouldn't have trusted. Hindsight is 20/20, but all I can do is promise you that we know better now, and we're not going to let it happen again. And I am going to recruit any one of you that sticks your hand up to come up and stand up next to me next time, and I'll hand the microphone to you. But you're staring at me. Yeah, you.
Come on back, Andrew, come on back, come on back.
It's warm. So, I'm mostly kidding. But we are not gonna turn away help, but we do have to make sure that we have alignment, okay? We understand that we need to rebuild the trust. I can't be anybody but who I am. Like I said, you wanna go out for drinks? I'll probably tell you more than I should. Can't do it on the record. And I was specifically told not to tell everybody that I swear what I do, so that's not in the bag right now, so.
Your wife's gonna kill you.
Yeah, the board member told me that too. Yeah. She's in charge of PR, so she's good at that. Anyway, all right, I think we're gonna wrap it up. Truthfully, thank you all. I know you're here because you care. I know that we have a long way to go to build the trust back again. But I can confidently tell you the school is going to be here. The school is going to be here this year. It's going to be here next year. We are going to do everything we can to make sure that the staff is taken care of. All right, that's the last one. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.